Good evening, everyone, and I'm excited to see so many people who came tonight to be involved in a topic I'm going to discuss with you. And thank you so much for introduction and invitation and opportunity for me being here, because what I'm going to talk about is very important for me personally, and I also think it is very important for many people here and across the world. Before we start, I think I don't need to introduce myself beyond what was already said here, but what I should mention is that I'm Russian, from Russia. I came here 2 years ago, just before Russia decided to invade in a full scale Ukraine. And I found myself being here without an option to get back home because of the threats which right now imposed on many Russians who doesn't support President Putin's regime. Also, I evacuated my family from Russia, and I brought them here to the United States. And I didn't know what I'm going to do here in this country, but for me it was the most important thing that I'm alive, my family is safe. And then I thought that I should do something about this war and what I actually can do. I didn't know at that time, but I came to the United States as research fellow, and I was invited by the Department of State, and I was integrated into international team of like-minded professionals, among whom I've met my new friends from Ukraine. And when I've heard about the war which Putin started in February 24th, 2022, I thought that I can't stay on the side and not do anything about that. So I've started to talk to my Ukrainian friends. How can I support them emotionally? How can I do something just to make things easier for them? So together with them and my American friends, we've started here a charity, and we started to collect funds to support those who are suffering in Ukraine, civilians, and later on those being in military. What was available to us at that time, providing things which were necessary. So starting doing so, I was invited to give a speech in Rotary Club, and that is how I became involved in a public speaking. And the main reason for me being here in front of you is to fight back that aggression first, and second, to share my own observation and analysis which I've got myself and through professionals I'm surrounded in the area of non-proliferation and beyond, and try to share that information so you as avoiders here who will make your choice in half a year, and you will decide who will rule this country. So you also got a piece of information from my side, so you can clearly understand what is going on there in Ukraine. Because being here in a safe country like the United States. I also feel that my mind is changing a bit, so I do not realize what is going on in Ukraine and Russia right now. We've got our own life here, and every day we're dealing with our personal and professional matters. Time to time we hear what is going on through media, newspapers, TV, and it's like an information in the background. And here in this place, we do not feel the importance of outcomes of that war. So I decided that it is a good chance for me to share what I know about this war and what I and my colleagues predict may happen if this war would not be stopped by the international community. Let me introduce my topic. I'm going to talk tonight about Russia's war against Ukraine. I do express my reasons of doing so, but also I would like to get to know you here, and I'm interested why you are coming here, especially knowing the topic I'm going to discuss. Can you tell me, please, what was your reason to come here tonight? What do you expect?
To get information from somebody who's close to it.
Thank you so much. Maybe any other? So my question is, I would like to know why you are here. What your reason to come here tonight? Let me take the microphone, so it will be a little bit easy. Sorry, but I think it's worth to repeat.
Oh, thank you. I just said that I came to hear to get more information from somebody who is close to the affair or the events and the whole situation.
Thank you so much. May I ask about your reasons?
Well, I would just like to compare what you have to say to what we hear on the news every day.
Indeed.
A different perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much. May I ask about your opinion? Okay.
I'd like to know why Americans should care.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the most important reasons I'm here. That's definitely why people in the United States or any other countries care about that. So maybe it is regional conflict, and there are many regional conflicts. They come and go. Before I start, I would like you to watch a song, Ukrainian song, so we can be at the same emotional level about what I'm talking about tonight.
Коли настане день, закінчиться війна, там загубив себе, побачив аж до дна. Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми, так лагідно і не пускай. от моя душа складає зброю вниз. Невже таки вона так хоче теплих сліз? Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми так лагідно і не пускай. Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми. Твоя весна прийде нехай.
Ми молимось за Маріуполь. Ми молимось за Харків, Київ, Суми, Волноваху, Чернігів. Ми молимось за Україну.
Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми. І більше так не відпускай. Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми. Твоя весна прийде нехай. Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми. І більше так не відпускай. Обійми мене, обійми мене, обійми. Твоя весна прийде нехай.
I've been to Ukraine just a couple of years before the large-scale Russian invasion. So I've seen some of those places myself, and I visited those towns and talked to people there. There was already a war in Ukraine, if you may recall. It started in 2014. And still, Ukrainians were able to accept me being Russian. I was involved in international project supporting bodyguards of Ukraine at that time. And for me, it was a personal tragedy, and it's hurting my heart still because it's going on right now, and it's getting worse and worse. So I would like to start my presentation trying to understand goals of that war in Ukraine. So those very basic things which still confuse a lot of people, both in Russia and internationally, and I think it is very important to understand those goals. So officially, Putin in his video to a nation and to the world named demilitarization, denazification, and safeguarding Donbass like the main goals of that war. We even do not understand well the meaning of these words, like demilitarizations. They He wants Ukraine not to have its own army, not to protect themselves. Denazification, he is talking about Nazism and fascism in Ukraine. But we all know that Ukraine is run by Jewish Ukrainian person, President Zelensky, what is truly nonsense there. Also, we know that Putin was surrounded by several officials appointed by him who are behave themselves as Nazis. They do not want to call themselves Nazis, but truly they are. So, in reality, in Ukraine, what we currently can see that Kremlin is seeking Ukraine integration into Russia. Also, Putin trying to demonstrate his dominance in Eurasia, and also he would like to restore Soviet Union and its pride. So for him, it's very important issue. He also wants to help NATO's eastward expansion. But the true reason, in my opinion, and I'm opinion many other people, that's he's trying to stay in power in Russia because the life there is getting worse and worse. And people like his main opponent recently assassinated in jail, Alexei Navalny, started asking questions. What is going on? Why you are staying in power for so long? Why you and your friends getting rich and others getting poor? And to support my words, I just would like to show another video. Actually, it will be only sound on my side, but I think it will provide support and better explanations of what I'm trying to say.
We've spent years studying and exposing Vladimir Putin and how he's squirreled money around the world, made himself very rich. But you also, in your latest book, you describe him as a scared little man.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, why are we even in this situation? And the reason is that for 22 years, Putin and 1,000 guys around him stole all the money they could from the state. And I estimate the amount of money they stole is $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion. They stole that. You can see it in London, in Eden Square and Belgrave Square, and you can see it on the south of France and in Aspen and all these other places. They take all this money that should have been spent on education, on healthcare, on roads, and they bought villas and private jets and yachts. And you can do that for 1 year, 5 years, but you can't do that for 22 years and have the people not get upset. And Putin is not in the situation like Boris Johnson is. If he loses power, he can go on the lecture circuit or whatever.
And buy a big fancy house, it appears, in the Cotswolds.
Putin, if he loses power, he goes to jail, he loses his money, and he dies. And so what does he do in a situation like that? He's terrified of his own people.
And if the West doesn't take him on in the way that you say, basically everything in, all resources, every help that Ukraine asks for, what, in your view, having looked at it for a long time, is the consequences? I mean, we spoke to the Polish president last week, and it was striking. He said, if this isn't stopped, it might be Poland next, other countries in the Baltic. He was really clear.
There's no question.
No question.
There's no question. So Putin needs to be at war to distract his people from being angry with him because he's stolen too much money. And so Ukraine is not his ultimate target. War is his ultimate target. Conquest is his ultimate target. And so we would be totally naive to think that somehow if we were to like fudge the situation in Ukraine, that he wouldn't be at the Polish border or the Estonian border. And if he is, those countries are our allies, our NATO allies, and we have a treaty obligation to then go to war with Russia. And if we want to avoid a war with Russia, which I think we all do, we should do everything possible to give the Ukrainians the tools so they can fight the war and win.
So it was a voice of Bill Browder. Bill Browder is largest foreign investor in Russia. Also, he is very famous all over the world, and he was the one who started political and business investigations. And Alexei Navalny, he copied what he started doing through his organization in early 2000s. And then Alexei Navalny brought a lot of information which Putin kept secret for a long time. So I also share this vision that Putin got this war and invasion only to stay in power as long as he could stay in Russia, to survive physically and also to rule the country and to continue stealing money from Russian people. So what actually results we see so far for Russia in Ukraine right now? Putin started it with an idea of 3 days war. In 1 week he can finish his invasion. He can change the government in Ukraine and demonstrate to Russians that it's a great thing to have, because he was impressed with the results of Crimea annexation in 2014, and he was excited. It was a solution to his problem. He couldn't run well country, but he can bring new lands and show Russians who getting poorer and poorer that we're getting greater and greater. And in reality, we see right now that Russia already lost more than 350,000 Russian troops, both being killed, injured. So he started with 200,000 soldiers invading Ukraine. Right now, he's lost that many, and he recruited another 500,000 soldiers to continue. And we see that he's not getting much of success fighting months for small villages. And it's good demonstration that the second army in the world actually doesn't mean being second. They are missing the point right now. Also, Russia lost more than 10 million Russians who left Russia, like me, or those who left Russia for a couple of months or half a year and then not coming back to Russia. And those people are the most entrepreneurial, the most educated, the most successful representatives of Russians. They are business people, engineers, doctors, and they are not coming back to Russia because they are threatened and they do not want to be in Russia under Putin's regime, and they would like to be in a safer place. Also, we see a significant economic decline. Almost all international companies, they left Russia, and they left it, I think, without an option to get back. Even if we imagine the situation right now, there isn't a peace in Ukraine, so Putin is a non-existent concept, and there is a democratic leader like Alexei Navalny, who unfortunately killed by Putin right now. It will take decades before Russia can get back to the state it used to be before the war. Also, there are a lot of opportunities which Russia and Russian lost. And it's affected families both in Ukraine, in Russia, and internationally, because Russia and Ukraine, it's a kind of a mixed nations, which got a lot of mixed families. And before the war, we used to travel to Ukraine, and Ukrainians traveled to Russia because of those mixed families, and because being in the same language family, sharing the same culture, the same language. Most of Ukrainians speak perfect Russian, and I personally would not realize if I see the person, is it Russian or Ukrainian? We're sharing so many common things, so it's difficult to define whom you are talking to. Before the war, right now, most of them, they refuse to speak Russian language. Now they would like to demonstrate that they've got nothing to do with Russia and Russian culture. Also, Putin is trying to show in Russia that basically we should not support Ukrainian culture anymore. We should be as Russians and get united to fight our enemies in Ukraine. And I'm sure that most of Russians still confused whom they are fighting to in Ukraine. And Putin's war, it's a long-term disaster. So it will not end in a day. No matter what is going to happen tomorrow, it can either get worse or will be frozen for a long time. So in Ukraine, it's even worse. 2 years of this disaster takes a lot of Ukrainian lives. I even can't count right now, and I guess nobody have got an exact figure. My personal estimate is at least 500,000 people who were killed during the conflict. Can you imagine? It's the population of huge cities. Also, there are a lot of refugees and internally displaced people, meaning that they left their homes, they are left with no means for their lives anymore. They do not know what to do and how to integrate into a new life. And I know those people, I know those who were lucky to get to neighboring countries like Poland, and I know those who are in Ukraine right now. And it's terrible. And I know that almost all of them are suffering right now, and they're trying to find the way how to survive and how to fight back Russian aggression. There are a lot of people, millions of people who need help right now, because Ukraine is getting weak because of the war, and now they can't support elderly people, or they can't support children, they can't support those whom they are supported previously. Maybe it was not the same level as here in the United States, but it was some kind of opportunity for those people to live their lives. Right now, it is almost impossible. A lot of cities are damaged. Energy infrastructure almost demolished there, and I even can imagine what it costs Ukraine to survive this winter. Winters there are even colder than here in Wisconsin, and sometimes it's difficult just to survive a day. The frost and not having food, having demolished, destroyed buildings with no shelter. And most of those cities, they're actually cultural sites, and they were beautiful towns. I've traveled through those towns, and my heart is crying when I see ruins of those towns. It was beautiful places to be. In my opinion, it is not just a local conflict. And that is what I would like to tell you tonight, that even if it's far from us and two countries involved, it's actually gotten a much larger impact on all nations around. You must probably already noticed that prices for gasoline is getting higher. Here in country you see a rising inflation, and prices for some commodities are getting higher. But how is it correlates with what is going on in Ukraine? I just can give you several examples. Russia is a world crucial supplier of at least 20 different commodities: oil, gas, different kind of metals, wood, some kind of food. And imposed sanctions and decision of President Putin to discontinue supply some of those goods to the world market, affecting all of us, all over the world. And it exposed the flaws of the international law. It threatens us with a global hunger, especially in Africa. I've spent more than 10 years working in Africa, and I know that Russia and Ukraine, they both supplies a lot of corn and other foods to those nations, and currently it is shortage, so people are suffering a lot, especially in those areas. There are a lot of refugees. They are fueling Europe and other countries. And for those countries like Poland, Germany, Austria, it is too many people who is entering the borders, and unfortunately, even with the will to support those people, they do not have enough resources. And also, you need to integrate those people. They just can't sit at some place and just wait when life will change for them. So it's a huge problem right now in economic space, and its influence many countries all over the world. And this is only a beginning of all that mess, in my opinion, because the next step which may happen, and I will talk about this a little bit later, can be even worse, in my opinion. Also, as I've got a background in nuclear non-proliferation, I would like to touch this point as well. So, nuclear order under a threat. And in my opinion, it is not a question anymore. We see what has happened to Chernobyl, how it was badly damaged, and there was a true threat to environment, not only in Ukraine, but in neighboring countries. We still remember, at least my generation, but I'm sure yours, we can remember what has happened there and how it was difficult to get control over that disaster. And now, having all that infrastructure created over decades being demolished or damaged, we see that threat coming back again. We see that some nuclear power plants, they are under fire, actually from both sides, but it's also a huge threat for region and for global community. Russia brought its nukes to Belarus, being even closer to NATO borders. And also we see that Russia is changing its economy, and it's almost completed transaction being fully militarized and making mostly weapons and ammunition and not producing other things. It's also a major concern, because whatever is going to happen this year in Ukraine, even if the conflict is frozen there, Russia can get back to a normal life, because all production facilities can't be changed in one day, especially back to normal. So it's still producing weapons, and if it's producing weapons, those weapons will be used one way or another. Also, we see that Budapest Memorandum cost nothing. I just would like to remind you what it was. In 1994, in December 5th, Russia, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and the United States, they signed an agreement that Ukraine is transferring all the nuclear weapons to a neighboring Russia. Under the agreement that those undersigned nations providing physical protection for Ukraine. So no matter what is going to happen to their security, those nations will provide the protection to Ukraine, because without nuclear weapons, they felt themselves exposed, and they were right, actually. Right now, it's giving a very bad message to other nations, those who are trying to develop nuclear weapons, like Iran, like North Korea. And now it is even more difficult to convince those countries to give up with their developments. So they see what is going on in Ukraine, and it's terrifying them. So those agreements on paper, they doesn't cost anything anymore because of that. So it's also will trigger other conflicts, and the war between, not between, but in Israel right now, and Palestine being involved. It's actually the result of the war in Ukraine, because people there realize that, okay, if Russia can do this, why we can't do the same? Why can't we invade the other country and have the war there? If international community is silent, so we will take this opportunity and we'll do this. But there are many other places in the world, like Taiwan, in China, they also think, okay, others can do this, and we also may try to take those opportunities. So that is a global threat to global security framework. It was so difficult for many different nations to build up United Nations and the treaties, and right now they are under the huge threat. Also, I would like to touch a little bit another topic of what has happened almost a year ago in Russia. The Wagner's group, it was a private army created by Putin. By Russian law, it's still illegal. You can't create private armies in Russia. You can't get involved in activities of those groups, and it is punished by law. It's very serious offense there. But he decided that he stays above the law and he can do whatever he wants. So he invited one of his friends who used to be a famous criminal in Russia, and he allowed him to create that army. starting to involve people from prisons to fight in Ukraine. And I do not want to be focused on those armies only because it is something truly bad, but because it's got a very interesting result. So the person who was appointed by Putin to manage that army, he became outspoken, and he started to speak freely before his death about the reality of the war in Ukraine. So therefore, I wouldn't recommend you actually to go and watch his videos, but I can, because it's a bad guy and I do not want to promote him in any way. But what he actually summarized in his last videos, it was a good demonstration of what was real goals of that war. To have this war, as it earlier was mentioned, and also to steal assets from Ukrainians, to get over businesses there, and then after full occupation of Ukraine, to spend Russian money, Russian budget, rebuilding the Ukraine. And normally Putin's friends are getting those contracts and do all that work there. So it's another way of stealing money from all nation. Wagner and Yevgeny Prigozhin, who was the leader, he didn't receive enough support from Putin. So his soldiers fought in Ukraine without getting ammunition, without getting proper weapons, without food supply. So, and therefore he started to speak freely about that. But it's a good demonstration of how Putin behaves with people with whom he's got an agreement. So there is no way to have an agreement with Putin. Whatever he signs, whatever he agrees on, it is lie. And it is just a demonstration of who he is. Also, that coup attempt which Yevgeny Prigozhin with his Wagner's group attempted last year demonstrated that actually nobody wanted to protect Putin. Putin was the first who left Moscow, being threatened by this small group actually of people. It was less than 15,000 soldiers. But also there were no military personnel between Ukraine and Moscow. So he could reach outskirts of Moscow easily within a couple of days. Nobody could fight it back him, and nobody wanted to protect him. I expected that someone in Moscow will say, okay, we are supporting Putin, we will take weapons and we will try to protect him. But there was no single person who decided to do so. So we can see what actually it costs support of Putin's regime. In a couple of weeks, it will be so-called by Putin re-election or election. We know who will be elected. And there is no alternative to Putin because of that, because he is not allowing others to be involved in democratic elections. And I predict it will be 80+% support of him, but in reality it's nothing. I think it's zero. There are some people who are benefited of his regime, and those who would prefer him to stay in power, so they can continue to do the business and be involved with things they do right now. but none of them will take the weapons and go to protect Putin. And this is a very good demonstration. And therefore, it's so important for me to mention this. Also, most probably you've heard. If not, at the end of February, Alexei Navalny, who is a democratic leader of Russia and leader of Russian opposition, and who was supported by millions and millions of Russians, was assassinated in a jail. Previously, he survived several attempts of being poisoned by weapons-grade poison. He survived it, and he bravely decided that he must get back to Russia and to continue his fight against Putin, even knowing the fact that he easily can be killed in Russia and that he is under a huge threat. In my understanding, even Alexei could not predict that Putin can escalate already ongoing war in Ukraine to the level at which it is right now. So that was a huge mistake which cost him his life. But he truly demonstrated several things. First of all, that he's got a lot of supporters. That Russians, they are not those who are supporting Putin and his regime. Russians, they are like many other people all over the world. They want to live a wealthy and happy life. They do not want to fight other nations. There are a lot of problems inside Russia, and Russia should deal with those problems and not to mess with any other problems all over the world. Alexei, he always wanted Russia to be peaceful, to be healthy, to be democratic, and to be a part of a larger international community. Unfortunately, Putin, he killed not only his personal enemy and not only a leader of Russian democratic opposition leader, but he also attempted to kill our hope that Russia can be a better place for Russians and other nations. His death demonstrated right now that he can go to that extent. If previously, even after he started large-scale military operation in Ukraine, some people in Russia thought it's okay. It's he's got national interests. He's got some goals to achieve there. But now anyone can see that he's just seizing his power. He would like to stay ahead of Russia forever. And he can do whatever he wants inside Russia and outside of Russia. Just one single fact. Russia got a large army, maybe the second, third largest in the world. But the army for internal purposes, what is called National Guardia, and it's actually got the same size. So Putin keeps as many soldiers for internal reason, for suppression of opposition, as he keeps to protect the entire Russia from external threats. Can you imagine how much it costs? He spends at least a half of Russian budget on those people, just to protect himself and protect his presidency. Also, the death of Alexei Navalny showed that with all threats and risks which Russians got currently in Russia. Because, for example, if I publicly talk about war in the way I'm talking right now here, I will be jailed for 7, 10, or 20 years. If I'm supporting Ukrainians, it's already a life sentence in Russia. But despite all those threats and risks, a lot of Russians came to his funeral, and they've demonstrated that they're against Putin's regime, they're against the war. And you can easily find plenty of examples in internet videos which demonstrates people shouting that Putin killed Alexei Navalny, that people want this war to be stopped, and they want to have a change in Russian regime. Finally, what I would like to mention, and especially referring back to what I've mentioned before, that you are waiting here for your president who will get into power somewhere next year. So when you see those debates, please keep in mind that the conflict in Ukraine, it's not like a regional conflict. It's already a global one. And we are staying just few feet apart from a larger conflict, which can be a Third World War. Why is it so? Because Putin needs war. And if he thinks that he can easily do things like the war in Ukraine, he also can support his confidence and try to invade neighboring countries like Poland, NATO member, Baltic countries. They are also under the huge threat. And right now, Putin got a new goal. So he started his war with one idea in mind, that he would like to take over in Ukraine. But in a week's time, then in a month's time, now in a few years' time, he understood that he can't. At this state of his power, he can't overtake Ukrainians there. So now he would like to have a ceasefire, and he needs time to get prepared for a larger war. He needs to build more weapons, he needs more ammunition, he needs more soldiers, trained soldiers, because right now those 500,000 soldiers, it's newly drafted soldiers with no experience, and at any cost he wants to get this war to be frozen. Once it's frozen, he will wait a couple of years, building up all his resources, getting ready to actually occupy the rest of Ukraine first, and then to attempt to attack other neighboring countries. For Ukrainians, there are no other choice. They can't consider it as an option, because they do know the history well. And they know what is going to happen to them if the conflict is frozen, or if Putin can win the war. It will be genocide. Genocide in Ukraine. Putin will clean up the country from those who are against his regime. he will impose his rule. It has happened already in past when the Soviet Union was created, and it also ended up as a huge genocide, both in Ukraine and some Russian areas as well. And they do not want the history to repeat there. So it will be really difficult to convince them to stop fighting. Right now, they are searching for support because they are much smaller nation. It's damaged already, the economy, the infrastructure, and their ability to regenerate resources to fight back Russian aggression. So therefore, they need an external support, and only wealthy nations can provide them with that support. And this is essential to prevent a large war and to prevent the Third World War. If there is any chance, I would like to ask you to think about any possible way to provide Ukrainians with the support. It will help to prevent a larger war, and this war can impact even people being here and other parts of the world. They need right now any kind of humanitarian assistance. They need food, medicine, they need weapons, and also there is a need for oil and gas embargo for Russia, and there is a need to make sure that imposed sanctions actually works as it's designed to work. So there is no ways for others to provide Russia with resources. Currently, talking to my contacts in Russia, even with all those imposed sanctions, Russian government can receive almost anything they need and want. There is no definite shortage of those resources. Some limitations, maybe it costs more, but still all the products and technologies they need, it can penetrate Russia through the loopholes which exist in those sanctions. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for being here.
Questions, please raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone.
Hello? I will try to be short. In 1995, just would like to correct something. Ukrainian was third largest country with nuclear power. United States was push Ukraine to destroy nuclear power or send to Russia. From 1995, I was in Air Force in Ukraine, so I saw that. So United States, Great Britain, and Russia promised something. It's like you ask, very good question, why we should support Ukraine. I've been married 26 years, and I will support my wife until last minute. Same you will do for your husband. I think same we should do for neighbors. If they will have difficult time or hurt, well, maybe you should come and ask how I can help. It kind of sounds like Ukraine far away. Well, it's not. Every Ukrainian family knows somebody, or they lost somebody in Ukraine. I lost my brother 22 days ago. I can talk a lot about this. I saw refugees in Ukraine. I saw in Poland, in Germany, when I picking up my mom. I have one conversation with American gentleman. He was not super happy about Obama, Trump, anything, food. And I was listening to him. I have patience. And I told him, it will cost me $1,000. I will do it, you listen, and you will be happy. And he asked, what is that? And I said, I will buy one ticket for you, one way, to Afghanistan. And good luck. Make yourself happy down there. I appreciate you come to this room, you know. We live in Waupaca. I live in Waupaca with my wife and kids. I feel so guilty. I'm in U.S. today. 3 people holding me. It's my kids and my wife. And again, I thank you for coming. I can answer a million questions, but when you enter Waupaca, it's assigned 6,686 people living in Waupaca. Here is 50. It means 50 people would like and care about that. I just want to say thank you guys very much.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you for your time and talk. There's a Ukraine flag in my front yard. Okay. I'm a veteran. I studied nuclear, chemical, and biological warfare for the military. I won't go into that because we have 5,500 nuclear warheads, as does Russia. The world has less. But we gave our word, what you just talked about, in the 90s, that we would protect these guys if they gave up their nuclear weapons. We're a country now that we got some people running for political office. Their word isn't worth a damn. Okay, well, mine still is. And I believe in these people, and we got to fight the fight. Now, if you're concerned not so much about the fight, let me say this. You have right now Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran forming a group to fight together. Ukraine is so critically important because if you don't stop right now those people there, China's watching. Every cell phone you use in this room is made in Taiwan. China wants a piece of that real bad. Okay? That's less important to me than the people of Ukraine. The other issue is, I'm a Vietnam era veteran. Ukraine isn't asking us for our men. They're not asking for our blood. They're just saying, help us out. You know, just help us out. The hell, who the hell are we? Let's get after it. I don't get it. So call your congressman and say, they're not asking us for any veterans to go over there and die. My dad's a veteran, my boys are veterans, I'm a veteran. We get it. But thank you for your effort, and all of us better stand up. We gave our word as a country. We better stand up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I was born in Ukraine and raised, but I'm a U.S. citizen. I just would like you guys to understand. I will fight for U.S. soil if it's needed to be, but Ukrainian really need right now. And thank you, what you say.
Can I just ask, what is a very useful, concrete thing that the average citizen can do? You mentioned a charitable group that would actually help provide food and medicine to the people of Ukraine. Do you know the name of a specific group?
I do not want to address you to a particular group. As I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, that together with my American and Ukrainian colleagues and friends, we've started charity ourselves. We've got certain limitations to provide support because of international regulations. For example, previously I was involved in supply of armed vests to Scandinavian countries. But if I, for example, would like to buy those things here in the United States and send directly to Ukraine, can be it is prohibited by the law. I need to get a license. I need to get through the lengthy processes. So we started to focus on the simple things: sleeping bags, mats, portable showers, medicine, all smaller things. But my message is that there is many different ways to support them. But this year you will vote for one or another candidate to be a president. And all of them, they've got own ideas about Ukraine. And it is very important to understand those facts which I've just presented. And very important to understand that there is no many ways to deal with the conflicts. You either can win in a battlefield, you can freeze the conflict, or you can allow Russia to occupy the whole Ukraine. And to freeze the conflict, it is not an answer to the question right now. Unfortunately, it's got very bad outcomes. Also, if we let Ukraine down and lose in this war, it will spread the world. It's evil which taking beyond Ukrainian borders. Those guys, they are heroes. They are fighting not only for themselves, they're fighting for the rest of the world. And right now, there is a huge discussion in Congress about providing additional financial support to Ukraine, $60 billion US. Yes, this is a big number, and I know that there are many local issues, and people may say, look around, there are many homeless people, there are many issues with taxes, there are some infrastructural issues. We've got places where we can spend this money. And you're absolutely right, but with exception of one thing, if we allow Ukraine to lose in that war right now, it will be a bigger war. And then you wouldn't even think about those smaller problems because all resources will be dedicated there. And not only resources will be sent there, but also people. And that's absolutely different thing.
I'd like to throw one thing in, though. Just don't
Sure.
be fooled by the numbers, because our defense budget is 20% of our budget. What they're asking for us is 8% of our defense budget. It's nothing. Write the check. I mean, it's nothing. You think it's a big number. It's not a big number in the scope of things. Just write the check. Call your congressman and say, man, we got to get going. And particularly call your Republican congressman, and I've called them all. You know, we got to get this done.
But time is an issue. It's not only should happen, it should happen right now. They can't wait.
Do you have contact with any of your extended family or friends in Russia? And what do the Russian people really know about the war?
Yes, I've left Russia with my family. I actually evacuated my family when the war started. I've been here in the United States. But my parents, they're almost 80 years old, and they refused to go because they didn't know what it's going to cost me to survive here. And they also didn't want just to add to my personal difficulties here And of course, once I've got a different situation here, I would like to take them here, and also they are ready to leave Russia, knowing that there is no future for Russia and Russians anymore, especially for those who at the age of 70, 80, 90, that's for sure. Most of my contacts, friends, colleagues, they left Russia. They decided not to wait the time when they are drafted or they somehow killed on the protests or in other different places. And they are highly skilled professionals, and they now they live and work all over the world. With respect to your question, what Russian thinks about war in Ukraine right now, of course I can't talk to all Russians. There are many different Russians, but in my circle, and it is hundreds of different people, they are totally against. They do not want to lose their children or their spouses because of someone's ambitions. Nobody clearly can understand what they are fighting for. What Putin is giving them, like fascism, Nazism, it's a foreign concept. They can't see it themselves. They do not understand what it is all about. Nobody threatened Russia. Nobody attacked Russia. So why they should be there and fight for what? But there are a lot of Russians in a miserable personal position. So they do not have enough money to buy their food, to buy houses, and all other things. And Putin manipulates that. He's paying money which excess any imagination of some Russians. And in this way, he pulls people to go on that war, to earn money. To give you an example, so people live on $200-300 US a month. And then someone comes and offers them $5,000-10,000 a month for a fight in Ukraine. So then they think, okay, I can solve all my problems and I will go there. But he's lying, because those people going there just for several weeks. So the first or second fight, and they are coming back in a plastic bag. So Putin, he is not spending those money. He's just promising those money.
I have a question. If somebody wanted to stay up to date on what's happening there, where would you suggest people get information? Is it television news, print news, magazines, newspapers?
For Russians, it is almost impossible to get an independent information sources, because they are locked in Russia. You need to have a VPN, that software which allows you to get to foreign websites right now. There are some journalists all over the world who are still speaks loudly about what is going on in Russia and in Ukraine. So there are many different channels. Also, there is so-called Novaya Gazeta, new newspaper, direct translation. I know some journalists personally. So recently we, together with my wife, met one of the journalists, Elena Kostyuchenko. She came to Monterey after being threatened in Ukraine. She was the first person from Russia who discovered Russian regular forces being in Ukraine after the beginning of war in 2014, and she brought pictures and she brought evidences, and because of that she became a target for Russian special forces. And when we met her, she told us that she's afraid of being assassinated. And we've met her in June 2022. In August 2022, it was an attempt in Germany where she lives to be poisoned. She survived that attempt. But she still continues to write about Ukraine. She's got many contacts there, and also she writes a lot about internal situation in Russia. It's freely available in free internet for Russians. It's still difficult to get. Sure.
One last question, and then we'll wrap up.
You mentioned how they can win the war, and I looked at your proposals up there of how they might win. Is there really a possibility that they can take back all that territory, including everything that was conquered in 2014? I can't. Is there a way that that's even possible? I mean, if the $60 billion that we give him now might turn the tide a little bit, bring a little of the momentum back that we seem to have lost for the Ukrainians. But what's the scenario under which they actually could boot Russia out of the country? I can't foresee that as a real possibility.
I'm absolutely confident that Ukrainians can fight Russia back and bring them back to historical borders of 1991 when they became independent. Can $60 billion solve this issue? It's difficult to say. There is no like a price tag. If I pay you this amount of money, you will fight to that level. If I give you a little bit more, so we will fight up to the historical borders. No, it's still a fight, but we already seen what they can do. Just give you a couple of examples. Russian Black Sea Navy, 30% is down. Putin was so proud about his navy in Crimea, but Ukrainians just simply demonstrated that that's cost nothing. He spent billions of US dollars keeping that navy there. Ukrainians spent, I don't know, maybe $1 million US, and one third of that it's already useless. Others are non-operational. Also, we've seen that Russians, they've been at the verge of Kyiv, just seeing it physically, but they could not enter Kyiv, and then Ukrainian forces, they moved the war line far out of capital. So they can do this. Physically they can do if they've got right weapons. Now they're fighting almost without aviation. So provide them with aviation. Now they're fighting without long-range missiles. Provide them with this, and they will show you how to move much quicker. Russia's army is a fake, which Putin created, like many other things. It's he's trying to show up or show off that it's so modern, it's so well-trained, well-equipped, but corruption exists in all parts of Russian government and also society, and most of those money he spent was actually stolen. And with what Russian army is fighting with Ukrainians right now? Old tanks which were conservated in 60s, 70s, the same weapons. Sorry, I'm trying to get short, yeah.
We need to wrap up. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation.